this whole book is on Sirius. You've already showed that.
No, yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, this is a shrine of another thing on King Tut's sarcophagus, and it's also talking about this star hitting the pineal gland and you having a spiritual manifestation, but it's also talking about this star Sirius. This star Sirius, okay. And I wanted to get into a certain amount of things with this UFO phenomenon that's going on. And I want to tell you some things about the cycles that's going on. Now, the UFO phenomenon, a lot of people, when they have these encounters, they so-called see these aliens. And when they see these aliens, they so-called describe the same type of ET-looking person, a type of alien. And you can get a book, Illuminati Trilogies by Robert Anton Wilson. It's called Eye on the Pyramid. And his concept of eye on the pyramid is the eye that I look at God is the way God looks back at me. So when these people have these encounters, the only thing they can perceive of that's a space encounter, because they know they're having some kind of alien encounter, is something they see on TV. And so when it registers in their mind that what they saw on TV, the only thing that they can think of an alien, and it should be some spook thing, this is what the so-called the encounter registers back at them. And this is what the alien communicates with them on that level, the level that they perceive them. I think it's in, which was the last Star Trek? Was it 6? In Star Trek 5. Get Star Trek 5. It's called The Quest for God or something like that. The Final Frontier. And they were in the search of God. And when they got to God, they got to a person that wasn't really God. Wasn't really God. But when they got to him, he was standing with this big face. And he said, who are you? How do you look? He said, I am who you perceive me to be. And he started flashing these different faces. And this concept, because the man puts his own, what he knows, the knowledge he knows, the ancient knowledge that he knows and keep it from us, he sometimes put it in movies. And we'll talk about a certain amount of movies you need to get to. And so, and then they found out that it wasn't God. But the thing about it is that same concept. That is why it's important for us to take Jesus Christ down. Because we understand, just like Khalid Muhammad said, the man busts in your house and take all your furniture and evict you, and you fall on the ground and pray to a God, and the God looks like the same man that damn just kicked you out your own house. You know, that's called an eye on the pyramid. So it's important that we, and you know, Africa is very symbolic. Everything these symbols had substance, and they understood the pictorial meaning of symbols. The visual meaning was just as important as the literal. You understand? That's where you have the hieroglyphics is picture form. Because they understood that you were working both sides of the brain when you did this. So it's very important that we take these symbols that don't mean anything to us down. You see? So when they have these encounters, they have these other type aliens. Now I think it's in The Whole of Pale Horse where Eisenhower supposedly met with some aliens on an Air Force base in Texas. And when he met with these aliens, they said, you got such and such a time to do your stuff, and your shit is up. It's over. And right after that, we know the Great Space Age started with Kennedy and all of this. And now up to this point, which we get into the present era, and also to talk about this, there's over 100,000 people that have abducted in the United States, people. So you know it's got to be something strange. It's got to be something strange because ain't that many black people. I can't think of it like 2 people. Some Air Force pilot or some kind of person in the service got abducted and all. We understand how whitewashed they are and all. And he got abducted, but it's not. But it's hundreds of people, thousands of people worldwide. And not only that, they said that these things can come in. There was a show came on about a month ago called The Intruders. And they said these people did what they had to do. They operated on them. Some women say they got days of their life missing where their ovaries are gone. They put all kinds of implants in them and all this type of stuff. One doctor came and said, man, whoever did this nose job, is one of the best in the world. This thing is out of this world. This is some state-of-the-art work. And he said they did all that, and they didn't even come inside the house. They were doing it from the spaceship. You see. So we're talking about spiritual, because you can get Swallow de Lubit's book, Isha de Lubit's book, the Egyptian initiate Herbach, and there's a whole section on illusion. Yeah. Where they could deal with the illusion. You see? So these people could deal with the knowledge of the universe that we call magic. It's not magic, but this stuff is real. They could do all kinds of things. You see? Now, we're talking about a people in 1991 that's even more advanced. 1992 that's even more advanced. You understand what I'm saying? They can do anything they want to do. You see? So, they got people that say that these people come and mess with them and don't even get off the spaceship. But these people say they're going to war with these people. And Gorbachev and Bush talking about they want to spend billions of dollars in a space center. For what? People starving all over the world. For what, Jack? Because they are getting ready for war. They also said that recently, I think a friend Dave called from Michigan and told me that they said that they was going to pass this in Congress. They said that they had they want to build this big old gun because there are meteorites falling to Earth and they're going to hurt people. They want to build this big old gun and shoot them out of the air. You see what I'm saying? They also, you need to get a book called Above Top Secret, Timothy Good. Get that book because it's called Timothy Good, and it's got all the government documents as well as Behold the Pale Heart. There's a lot of books on UFO, but see what the government has done is this. The government puts out propaganda books in black liberation when these all people call themselves, and all this, their little protest stuff. And also, if you go to Oxford bookstore, you will see a whole wall full of UFO books. Well, this is good because this is saying that a lot of these books are telling the truth. But the government might put 1 or 2 books, and then you might get the book, and it might have something so ridiculous. And you say, oh, this is some spook stuff, and it'll throw you down. This is something that prevents you from going on further with it. You see, this is a detour. So we don't understand this. And so the government, everything we do, the government is also got its hand in on it. You see, we saw a tape on the New World Order. It was done in the 1970s. The government got their hands on it and destroyed, but it was done professionally. It was done just like you watch a TV show, because a lot of the tapes, they just got a brother on there talking. This thing had graphs, it had all of this. And they said there was a point where the government encourages black radical movements. And the reason why they do that, if you've noticed, they're getting ready for the King Apple plan, and they're getting ready for police states, because you have all of these shows coming on, 901, Cops, and 48 Hours, and Unsolved Mysteries. All of this is to get the people ready for doggone martial law. And they're doing this by telling the people that the climate is so dangerous that so the people, and even stupid black people, because people will perish from a lack of ignorance, and the ignorant black people are our worst enemies. And these people are saying, we got to get the dope off the street. And Bill Cooper says that they're going to have you to get up off your own constitutional rights. And they said that Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, back in the 60s, was all in, with all his protests and stuff. And they said something happened, and he got up on the podium, and he was going strong up at this time. And all of a sudden, he was like, damn, these people have been using me and my black radical nationalist element to incite things. They are for this because they want to impose martial law. So they want to get the turmoil going and all because they want this friction so they can say we got to do this. You see, and we saw a special on TV. Now get this, we saw a special on TV about the Indians. And check this out. They couldn't beat the Sioux, so they said we're gonna give you 2 states, and they gave them 2 states. What was the state, son?
It was Wyoming. Yeah, it was up to
Wyoming Midwest. They gave them 2 states, about as big as 2 Georgias. And their food, they said we can really live here, and all. And their food was the buffalo. The Indians used to hunt the buffalo, and this was their source of survival. And so, and he want that, and sooner or later he gonna get it. He give them something to pacify us now, like he did us in the 60s, and all. So he said, he told all the purchase and all them, and he paid them money to go out and kill buffalo. You know these people kill, how many was it?
It was over like 60 million.
60 million buffaloes.
Down to 85.
Down there, when they got through, there was 85 left. And they showed them standing up, and if you ever been to the AU Center Library over here, they showed them standing up with buffalo skulls tall as the doggone library. And the Indians almost starved to death. And they put them on reservations. And then after they put them on reservations, the Indians started doing a sacred dance. Said maybe we can dance this sacred dance and maybe
Ghost dance.
the ghost dance, and maybe to get rid of the man, and the man got scared. And that's when they had the wounded knee. They came in and killed babies, all of that. And we know the blanket thing. If you need to get the tape of Jack Feller. Jack Feller said that the smallpox thing that they put with the blankets infected with smallpox, they tried the same thing in Africa during colonization, but we were a doggone strong people, and we just shook that off. Just like we shake off everything and eat babies.
They did in Australia.
You see? Look at Australia. Shot for sport. Look at the Aborigines. I mean, and look at the Tasmanians.
They going.
Gone, wiped out. Wiped out. Now, to me, mathematically, it don't have to take that much to add up and beat the devil. But I mean, after all of that, after billions of people, the Caros, not around in the Caribbeans after billions of people, we must understand that this is our enemy. This is our enemy. And we must understand these things. Now, I want to get to a point. I want to deal with these cycles. Now, this is very important because now we are into the part. We're into the part of today. And this is crucial. I got a sister here named Kimberly Meadows. She teaches at Spelman. We've been through the struggle from the beginning, you see. And let me tell you something. You talking about a sister that knows the stuff? This sister knows the stuff. Hey, she know about as much as I do. You see what I mean? And she's going to come up, she's going to read you a passage. Remember I showed you the god Tahuti. Our ancient African brothers and sisters knew, you can put that god back on, show them that god again.
Yeah, that's right.
They knew all what was going to happen to us. They knew it already. They knew what was going to happen. They knew it to the T. And we know now that the dynastic period started the decline of Kemet. It started in the dynasty. You can get Chance the Wigan book telling you that. It started in the dynasty. And they won Thoth, which is the god of time, which I told you before. I want to say this again. It was a goddess Seshet. Supposedly was telling everything he knew. He was writing it down. And we want to always bring that goddess back into the picture. No, give me the back there. This is the one. Tahuti. Yeah, Tahuti. And the god Tahuti, Thoth, or Tot, they might say Tot in the book, or Hermes, which is the Greek thing, or the god Hermes. Now, I want her to come and read a passage to you about what's going on how we fell. They knew all the time they were going to fall. And she's going to be reading, his name is Asclepius, which is Imhotep. You know him as Imhotep. The Greeks call him Asclepius. Now, he's asking Tahuti what's going to happen. And he's going to tell her this.
Or are you ignorant, O Asclepius, that Egypt is the image of heaven? Moreover, it is the dwelling place of heaven, and all the forces that are in heaven. If it is proper for us to speak the truth, our land is the temple of the world. And it is proper for you not to be ignorant that a time will come in our land when Egyptians will seem to have served the divinity in vain, and all their activity in their religion will be despised. For all divinity believed in Egypt, and will flee upward to heaven. And Egypt will be cleared. It will be abandoned by the gods. For foreigners will come into Egypt, and they will rule it. Egypt, moreover, Egyptians will be prohibited from worshiping God. Furthermore, they will come into the ultimate punishment, especially whoever among them is found worshiping and honoring God. And in that day, the country that was more pious than all countries will become impious. No longer will it be full of temples, but it will be full of tombs. Neither will it be full of gods, but it will be full of corpses. O Egypt, even Egypt will become like fables, and the barbarian will be better than you, O Egyptian, in his religion, whether he is Scythian or Hindu, or some other of this sort. And what is this that I say about the Egyptian? For they will not abandon Egypt. For in the time when the gods have abandoned the land of Egypt and have fled upward to heaven, then all Egyptians will die. And Egypt will be made a desert by the gods and the Egyptians. And as for you, O river, there will be a day when you will flow with blood more than water, and dead bodies will be stacked higher than the dams. And he who is dead will not be mourned as much as he who is alive. Indeed, the latter will be known as an Egyptian on account of his language in the second period of time. Aesculapius, why are you weeping? He will seem like a foreigner in regard to his customs. Divine Egypt will suffer evils greater than these. Egypt, lover of God, and the dwelling place of the gods, school of religion, will become an example of impiousness. And in that day the world will not be marveled at, immortality, nor will it be worshipped, since we say that it is not good. It has become neither a single thing nor a vision, but it is in danger of becoming a burden to all men. Therefore it will be despised. The beautiful world of God, the incomparable work, the energy that possesses goodness, the many-formed vision, the abundance that does not envy, that is full of every vision. Darkness will be preferred to light, and death be preferred to life. No one will gaze into heaven, and the pious man will be counted as insane, and the impious man will be honored as wise. The man who was afraid will be considered strong, and the good man will be punished like a criminal.
Common criminal.
And concerning the soul, and the things of the soul, and the things of immortality, along with the rest of what I have said to you, O Tot, Aesculapius, and Ammon, not only will they be considered ridiculous, but they will also be thought of as a vanity. But believe me when I say that people of this kind will be endangered by the ultimate danger to their soul. And a new law will be established. The wicked angels will remain among them and be with them and lead them into wicked things recklessly, as well as into atheisms, wars, and plundering, by teaching them things to the contrary of nature. In those days the earth will not be stable, and men will not sail the sea, nor will they know the stars in heaven. Every sacred voice of the word of God will be silenced, and the air will be diseased. Such is the senility of the world, atheism, dishonor, and the disregard of noble words. Shall I continue? Okay. There was no death in Egypt in its days of great wisdom, but soon, when the gods left and the degenerated man walked the earth, those who were in the minority had to combat the majority of lesser intelligence. Note the reference to a love of a god and gods, Brahma and his family. The ultimate danger to their soul were the barbarians, who could not understand and who would strip their tombs, their places of sleep, not death. Today, we call them archaeologists and physical anthropologists, a glorified name for grave robbers, thieves, and curiosity seekers, as well would torment them and deny them of the one thing they could have in death. The heathen would never have life.
Now this is almost 3,000 years before it fell. You understand? So they knew, and they knew the prophecies, and they set down the prophecies for us to follow. There's a second part. Now you can get this. I want to tell you show you some bibliography that you want to get, and I want to get it on film for the person who's watching this video. It's important that we get the books and read the books. And I want to show you some. You can get these books. These are this Tahuti Thor. There's a book called The Divine Commander. I think it's like $13, and this is the second part called A Virgin of the World. called A Version of the World. This part that she read is in this book. You can get that part. But it's translated out of Greek. The part I got is a part that was reworded. They put words in to tell you what they were talking about. It was translated a little better. But this is translated in Greek. So if you get the video and you get the audio, you can understand that you can read this. But there's a second part in this. When Eschatology told him, look, will we get out of this mess? And Tahuti told him, yes, we will. He said, we will get out of this mess. There will be a time when Ma'at will be restored. Now, you know the Bible tells you go to hell and there's no way out of this type of stuff. You see, that's what Seth wants you to believe. He wants you to believe, and Seth is the man. He wants you to believe that his rule is forever. But remember, an ant in a coconut shell full of water thinks it's a whole ocean. You're just looking in the wrong place. So when people assess what's going on in America, there's no way that we can see ourselves out of this. Number one, we can't get out of it financially. We can't get out of it militarily because he got all of that. You understand? Because we're looking at it in the wrong place. And like I said before, we got to meet the brothers and sisters that are coming for us, because your own Bible tells you that. I'm not speaking no more than the theology that the preacher's speaking. I'm just speaking it in another language, and I'm speaking it close to home, and I'm not speaking it out. Because in the book of Ecclesiastes, they tell you he's coming with the sword in his hand. Jesus, supposedly. Now, if we know that this comes out of ancient African symbols and ancient African knowledge, then we understand that the sword would have been that of that day, but now we're talking about high technology. And we're talking about the high technology because that was a nomadic people that had to perceive what was going on. But we're talking about, when we talk to Hemmitt, he says it's coming with a sword. Actually talking about it's coming in the spacecraft that we talk about today, you see. But we got to meet them halfway with the knowledge that we must prepare ourselves with. You can get both of these, you can get both, you can get that lecture in here, and here's some other stuff going into the prophecies of Thoth or Tahuti. Here's another book, it's 3 books in one, it's called Trice Great Hermes. It's called Trice Great Hermes. And this is a book by Samuel Weiser in New York City. Finch, Dr. Charles Finch and other scholars, when they would get this stuff and put it in the books that they, the books that's out, they would have to get all 3 volumes. Now you can get all 3 volumes in one. But it's $50, it's $50. But I'm telling you how you can do a lot of stuff a lot cheaper. I would say for right now, since these are called a perfect sermon, there's that part that she read. It's called a perfect sermon, and that part is on page 71 in book 2, in the version of the world. The version of the world is ISIS. And so you can get these 2 books, and you could somewhat find out in a short version of what's in these 3 volumes in one. Or you can pay the $50 and get the 3 volumes in one. You can get all these books from the Sphinx Metaphysical Bookstore. Okay. On Piedmont, if you take Piedmont Park, it runs dead into Ansley Square Mall, where it is. You can get all that now. There's the works of Gerald Massey. There's a part in Gerald Massey's book, the Book of the Beginning, in volume 2. There's a part called Shipton's Prophecy of the End of the World in the year 1881. Some relics of ancient Egyptian circle craft, are still extinct in Britain and have misinterpreted the prophecies in common with the Hebrews. According to these words, the world will end in the year 1881. The end of the world is nothing but the end of an eon, or the end of an age, of a cycle of time. We have the prophecy fulfilled in the lunar prophecy and planetary conjunction which occurred on the 3rd of March, 1881. It now remains scientific astronomy to determine, to scientific astronomy to determine the length of a particular cycle of time and define the relationship of a period of processions. The ending of the world is the ending of an eon, and the commencement of the new appropriate date for the book of the beginnings, March 4th, 1881. As March 3rd was the end of the year. So what it was is the Christians in 1881 was following some stuff that the Hebrews said in the Bible, because that's all confusion. Set is the god of confusion. And they were following this thing, and everybody was talking about, oh, the world is going to end. So right now, they're talking the same thing. If you look on TV, every doggone preacher got a TV show. If you get cable, you click it, and every other show is a doggone preacher. But they are off, and our people are in these churches. There's 58 churches in AU Center alone, and this is some of the worst areas known to Atlanta, all in that area. And if you got 50 churches, this tells me that your church is supposed to be the shrine of the community. It's supposed to depict the climate of the community. And that which depicts the climate of the community, if the community is messed up, that's messed up. So it's saying that the end of the world is actually an end of an eon, it's the end of an age. Now, I gave you some papers with some dates on it, if you want to get with some dates on it. And I want you to buy a book, but I want to give you this, one of the, let me get one of these papers. I don't have it up here. There's you only have one page in here that has some actual literature. Some actual literature. Yeah, here we go. And we're talking about a cycle of a great year every 14,460 years, or finally 26,000 year cycle, 26,000 year cycle of a great procession of the equinox. I want you to write those down and keep those, and I want you to toy with them, because we know that the man has messed up the calendar. The calendar, the first calendar was changed. Our calendar was changed by Julius Caesar. And we understand that time is off. And I told you what the Egyptologists were doing. They were trying to tell you that that it starts at 3,000 years. But we understand that this stuff is older than that. And they're using Manetho's history. But I think Manetho, number one, Manetho doesn't give dates. He only gives dynasties. You understand? So you don't really know. And plus, I think that he gave him what he wanted. He told him it was 500 pharaohs in the dynastic period. That's 3,000 years. There was 800 in the pre-dynastic. That's 5. Hell, that's 8 right there. Then he told him before then a whole bunch of gods ruled. You see, a whole bunch of gods ruled. So he gives them dynasties. So the Egyptologists are steadfast on keeping this chronology in. And all the people who get into Egypt and write from Egypt and write that's not Egyptologists, that's not controlled, because remember, the controlling of Egyptology, you have the Rockefellers, which is direct link with the New World Order and the Illuminati and all of that. And all of a sudden they're controlling this whole Egyptology scene. You got Brown University as the School of Egyptology, and you have Oriental Institute in Chicago, and you also have Emory is getting the School of Egyptology. It's coming. They opened up a little exhibit last year, some little fragments of Egypt and stuff in the Ptolemy period and all. Yeah, you know. And so they're getting the School of Egyptology for one reason. Atlanta, there's a book you can get called Illuminati the Novel. You can get it at Lee Dawkins and stuff. But the guy that's in this book is saying that the new frontier or the new city for the New World Order is Atlanta, Georgia. Because when these cycles leave, it means the end of the world is the ending of becoming of a new world. And the old must leave and the new must come in. You understand? The old must leave and the new must come in. And so what they have to do is you have all these old cities, New York and LA and all these cities is wore out. But you have what you call a New South that only in the 80s, the late 70s and the 80s, started becoming nice buildings, and they started building this stuff up in Atlanta. You got the CDC here. You have the Olympics. You got the Super Bowl. You had the Democratic Convention. You got the World Cup coming. You got all of these companies moving down here. This is the center for the New World Order. And Emory is a Coca-Cola University. And remember, big corporations run this baby. And Emory is Coca-Cola University. And the AU Center is Coca-Cola University. But Emory is getting a school of Egyptology. They have a school of anthropology. They got a school of African studies. And they get the school of Egyptology. Hell, that looked like doggone Cambridge. You understand what I'm saying? And Oxford.
Laws of London had something to do with that.
Oh, okay.
Some years ago.
Oh, okay.
And making that decision.
Making that decision and all. So they're getting all of this stuff. And this is the place for the New World Order. Because they know that they have to go, everything has to be new, a new form of government. This is what everybody's talking about the consolidation of the wall coming down, Russia getting the hell on, the communism, and all of them coming together. Because they have to become new. Because when the cycle change, the old got to go. But see, we were talking about this earlier, me and my brother, my friend over here, Robert, that the cycles change at least 2 or 3 times in Kemet, or maybe more, we don't know. But as long as they use divine kingship and adhere to the laws of Ma'at, when it changed, it would go on into the next eon, or the next millennium, or the next cycle. But if it changed and your shit ain't together, excuse the expression, but I want to use strong emphasis because this is only 8 years from what we're doing, and it's serious. You go out with the old. You see, so we must have a new way of thinking as black people. You see, as black people. Now we have Gerald Massey. We have the Book of the Beginnings. We have Natural Genesis as 2 of his books, and we have his last book in 1907 was Ancient Egypt, Light of the World. Now, I look at this work and I say, this man was a 19th century Diop, a Dr. Ben, a Dr. Clark man, and was shut out by all his people. He said that England didn't even look at his work at all, and they shut this man out. And to this day, I only know 2 or 3 scholars that wrote something in the last 30 years that used his bibliography. So obviously, if we should support anything that they oppose and oppose anything that they support, then we need to be looking at this man and this stuff. These books, these spiritual books, cost $75 in a volumes. But we always have students of him, and you could always get them. You can get John G. Jackson, Man, God, and Civilization. You can get John G. Jackson's Christianity Before Christ. He's what you call a Masseyite. And you can get the new brother on the scene, Charles Finch. You need to get the book, Charles Finch, Echoes from the Dark Land, Themes from an African Eve. This is taking Gerald Massey's legacy on. And you need to get this book because it explains this great year that we're talking about, this cycle. He has in the bibliography Race and Origins, the Great Mother, the origin of human culture, the emergence of patriarchy, the chronology calendar of the world's great year, now valid sources of the Old Testament. That's talking about all the set worship. You can get all that stuff wrapped up in here, if even the knowledge on the great year. But brother here has been working for months trying to put this great year together. Brother Robert Calloway, he's lecturing now, and he's teaching over here, upper bound up at the University of Georgia. He's got his master's from the University of Georgia. My brother here, Rodney Cohen, we just finished up 2 weeks of lecturing and trying to put some knowledge in the young kids' heads that's coming into college in the upper bound programs and all these programs they have. And let me tell you something. Some of them brothers are ready for liberation. They're not ready to bootlick and buck, man. Some of them brothers out of high school is ready to do one thing, whip that ass. That's what they're ready to do, you see. But by the time they go through the process of college, they might come out, you see what I'm saying, waving a doggone American flag. You see what I mean? Waving an American flag. John Henry Clark said, the best people you got as well as Farrakhan is in them projects. How you gonna fight? You a scholar. Joe Blow is the man that's got your back. And you don't even talk to Joe Blow in the pool hall. But he can kick many people's ass. You see what I'm saying? And don't mind it. And don't mind dying. Because if somebody shoot around you, you might lay in the bed the next day and say, I can't take it. This brother sees death every day. He'll be out on the battlefield tomorrow. So the misplaced aggression that we see in the gangs is actually possible.
It's an army.
It's an army. You see what I mean? We can't take it all because we don't see it every day. They see it every day. So they don't mind getting up the next day and going right back, just like a man does. You see, all his movies, his boy died yesterday in the camp. Indians shot him. You know, which is a bad way to put it because, you know, they kill the Indians and turn around and have them as the villains. But I'm trying to illustrate a point. You know, and they just get up the next day like, hey, bury him and put his hat on the grave and go on killing some more. When they say, thank you, Lord, and pass the ammunition. They don't mind killing and stuff. And so this book, you need to get this book. You can get 1, 2, 3, 4 masses, 6 massive books. It costs you almost $300. And you can get most of that in this one book. This book, Dr. Ben Black Man of the Niles, his stuff is massive. John G. Jackson, all of his book, Man, God, and Civilization, Christianity Before Christ, and also African Introduction to Civilization, which is an introduction to John Henry Clark did the introduction. And you can get that. You need to look at Massey's work. Massey's writing stuff. Massey's writing in one part in this book on page, in Ancient Egypt Side of the World, on page 189, where he's talking about Sophis coming back. And she has the virgin child between her knees, and they're coming back. And they're coming back, and they are giving birth to a person by the name of Manes, which sets the stage for judgment. And they say the dead person can actually see what's going on at this time, and he can have a blueprint on what's going on. And when this thing happens, Amun-Ra comes back and say, come on board. Now that might be the spiritual manifesto, but it might be them doggone UFOs they're talking about with the whole Sophis thing, because we understand that the Dogon is a continuation of that, and they're talking about UFOs. They're talking about Ohu's Ark, which is inferior, and Nomo's Ark, which is superior. You see what I'm saying? So it's very important that we study the brothers and sisters, and even the man, because he died for that cause. He was shut out by his own people, and his own people didn't even acknowledge him. And I was like, well, you know, and no one knew mythology like him. He has his student, his Albert Churchward, did Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man, which is talking about the 12 people and how they went all over the world. And I got a map in here. There's a map in here where it has, and I should have blew it up and put it on the overhead projector. There's a map where they have the origin of Africa right here. The origin of Africa right here in the Nile Valley. And this red dot shows where the 12 people travel all over the world. You see, he's doing some work over here. Travel all over the world. You know. And this is the map. And this is the book Signs and Symbols. This is his student. But somehow you need to get vindicationists. You need to get a guy by the name of Sinclair Drake. He died about 2 years ago. And he's what you call a vindicationist anthropologist. And what he did is he took the works of white authors and black authors and he synthesized them and told you what these people felt and who to really follow and who not to. And who to really take. And he said that he had a problem. Albert Churchward had a problem saying, well, those Neolithic Negroes that started the world are not necessarily, there's a break between them, and they're not necessarily the West African prototype that we brought over as slaves. You see, but still yet, but Massey was the real man. You see, because all that world's great mother, that comes through us through Massey. The Set worshippers, that comes through us through Massey. And Massey even says that these people, the Africans, were very spiritual. He said the Africans knew more about spirituality than anybody in the world, whereas one African brother would come down and put a bowl of water by the tree. And said, a European traveler came and said, well, young man, why did you put that bowl of water by the tree? He said, the tree can't drink the water. And the Africans said, you child, because they always call them children. He said, I have a spirit. I have a physical body, but I have a spirit, and the tree has a spirit just like me. And me putting the water is to say that I'm giving the spirit something to drink. And the spirit drinks the water. They understood this. This is why Charles Finch said that they did not look at themselves as people. They looked at themselves with the animals and the people as one body of people. And they didn't think they was no better than the animal. Just that they had a certain function and the animal had a certain function. You see? And that's why the beast can go and kill 60 million buffalo and kill up all the whales and kill up everything. He is not the beast because he's got his foot on in our behind. He is the beast because he has no respect for humanity, period. When it comes to nature or anything. Even the cosmos. You see what I'm saying? The ozone cosmos, life, period. He has no respect for one thing, himself, as an individual, not even his own people. He would be a real human if he cared about him. He don't care about them, nothing but money and how he can exploit anything. And we must get off this money kick, because this money kick is going to be the death of us. Because we understand that we have to have the utility to go, like I said, to go to work, and we have to have money to survive. But it shouldn't be the measurement of our humanity. Right now, black people's manhood and womanhood is based on how much money we can make. You see what I'm saying? How much money we can make. We need to get out of this. You know. So there's several books, but going back to this cycle, there's some stuff in Massey's book, in the book called Natural Genesis, which is his second book. And it says, and he said the Egyptians kept astronomical observation and records of the last 630,000 years. Now you need to write that down, 630,000 years. This statement appears to frighten Mr. Massey, who remarks in Natural Genesis that we read the number of the month in which the Exodus said the Egyptians term that would still yield the length of 2 cycles of a procession, or 51,776 years. I'm just saying we all at a loss on what's really going on with this whole time thing. So I'm telling you to write these numbers down and somehow get to work and try to come up with some stuff. And Dionysius' lectures carries the astronomical calculations of the Egyptians to 48,863 years before Alexander the Great. Martellus Capella corroborates the same by telling precisely that the Egyptians secretly studied astronomy for over 40,000 years before they imparted the knowledge to the rest of the people outside of Kemet, to the world. And Quasi talks about that. He said that the Egyptians studied the astronomy for over 40,000 years. You know. Now she's saying that his book, Natural Genesis, I have 2 books on order for $75 when they come in. I'm going to get them. And she says that his books is a great basis for her books, The Secret Doctrine. Her name is Mame Blavatsky. You can get The Secret Doctrine. She has another one called Isis Unveiled. Please take European scholarship with, with a grain of salt, because they say things up in there. You understand? We understand that they're only Europeans, and we must use what we know is right to liberate ourselves. And the rest of the stuff, we can't take everything literal. We've been stuck in doing that with the Bible. You understand? So take stuff with a grain of salt. She has a lot of stuff in here that you can watch. But in falsehood, there's truth. And the beast always put truth with falsehood. It's just when you know what time it is and how knowledgeable you are, you can pick out the truth. Now get this. This is the point. Plutarch, which was an Egyptian, which was a Greek, wrote a lot of stuff on the mystery system. This is what Plutarch said, quoting his life of Sulla, saying one day when the sky was a serene, a sound was heard in it, of a trumpet so loud it was shrill and mournful that it affrighted the world. The Tuscan or Tuscan sages that said, and check this out, that it pretended a new race of men and the renovation of the world. See, this is an ancient thing, and they're talking about a new race of men. Who the hell is a new race of men? That's the man. And it said that they affirm that there are 8 several kinds of men, well, we can take it with a grain of salt, and being of different life and different manners. And that heaven had allotted each its time, which was limited by a circuit of a great year, 25,868 years. See how the cycle is? See, time is not linear, but time is secular, or circular. Right? And based upon the cycle, this is how things change. That's why we are all confused about how we're going to get out of this mess. You see, we think time is linear. You see what I mean? And we think of this spook God, and we just just out there, just ignorant, don't know our behind from a hole in the ground, and we don't understand. But they're talking about cycles, and they're talking about cycles, and when you deal with that, and there's a book you can get, it's called A Brief History of Time. Got the cat's name, Brief History of Time. I know Carl Sagan, which is an astronomer, that said the Dogon got their knowledge from the Europeans. He did the introduction. But anyway, you can get Civilization of Barbarism, and I can't think of the chapter, but you can call Dr. Charles Finch, and he can tell you the chapter that if you read it before you read the beginning of the book, it will blow your mind. And he said that Diop always talked about remember the future. So our past is the future. And if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going. You understand how it goes? So what we're trying to do is get back to Egypt. And there was a guy by the name of John Anthony West that wrote a book, The Serpent in the Sky, had an article in a magazine recent, I can't think of the name of the magazine. He said, how can we return back to Egypt? How can we make Egypt come back? See, these moms know what's going on. Back to the future. And this is how the cycles do go. When we failed because we were doing a little, some sometimes came when Egypt deteriorated and our people ran a little rampant. And when the cycle came, we went out. And just like my brother Robert Calloway said, that he believes that when it happens, it's going to happen just like that. You see. So we got to be ready for that. Now, this gets to the point that we need to think, we need to look about when we're talking about the New World Order. And run by secret societies of the world. Number one, run by what the white Masonic orders with the pyramid structure going on up into the regular brothers and sisters, the white brothers and sisters, and up into the big boys that's in the Illuminatis and the elite power in the pyramid circle. See, their power goes in a pyramid, whereas it's upside down pyramid, isn't it?
As far as riches.
As far as riches.
Right.
Where all the people got the money and only a few of them don't. And ours to go in a right side up, where all the people don't have money, but a few people do. You see. But this is a pyramid structure too also, is right side up, where you got all these people in the secret society, but not all of them are in on what's going on. But at the top, the elite top, they know all of this science. They got it right there in the doggone British, the nucleus. They got it right there in the British Museum and all over the museums all over the world. They said that the
museums in Europe.
In Europe. We have, they said that the Rockefellers have one of the biggest Egyptian artifact collection in the world. And they said one of the next one is in Russia. And I told you, they said they got a building in Russia big as the AU Center Library with nothing but books on nothing but Egypt. So they know this stuff. And that shows you that the black Masons, so-called Prince Hall, there's 2 million of them in the United States. Now 2 million, if they had the right knowledge, would have been out of this stuff yesterday.
Long time ago.
So that lets you know. And what happened, let me explain to you what happened. They used to couldn't use the Dogon's ritual, which is the ritual that the Masonic Lodge operate on. It's a ritual. It's a book that tells you all the stuff. They had to use their own ritual, and there's a guy by the name of Dobbs wrote a black ritual called Dobbs. And they just recently, in a couple of years, I don't know how many years, maybe started using the Dogon's ritual. That is a ritual. But the ritual is just the ritual. That's the same thing we do in the church. We are in the ceremony of it, symbols without substance, but we don't understand the principles behind it in the real science. And right here in the 3rd degree, they talk about a star. Even after the symbolic resurrection has taken place, we are still warned that any light which can penetrate the lower planes is but darkness visible, and that for true light and fuller information we must lift our eyes to a bright morning star whose rising brings peace and salvation to the fruitful and the obedient of men. There is no doubt that in myth as taught in ancient Egypt that the star which reference was made in these terms was originally Sirius. This is in the 3rd degree. We not, you understand? Do you know the black Masons, they don't even know what the hell it is. And they say in every lodge, Albert Pike writes about this in his book, Morals of Dogma, in every lodge there's a brighter star. Go into the Fox Theater which used to be the Grand Temple Shrine, and then later on built the theater. If you look up in the top where where you go in and see the shows, they got stars up there. And at one point, they got a star that's bigger than the other ones. What is Sirius? The brightest star in the constellations. You see? They know what the hell they're doing. Check it out. An association with these ideas with the dog star is undoubtedly a fragment which has come down from ancient Egypt for the rising Sirius, marking the beginning of the inundation of the Nile, which literally brings salvation to the people of Egypt, irrigating the land, enabling them to produce food. This was a very important star. It gives life to the earth. Since the Nile Valley is the source of the earth, they knew what the deal is. Now, this is a part that's in the third degree. It says, let a star be ever before your eyes, and let its light illuminate your heart. Follow it as did the wise men of old, until it leads you into the gateway of initiation, where it shines above the porticos of the glorious temples, eternal in the heavens, which King Solomon was but a symbol. He was just but a symbol. And King Solomon is the basis of Western Masonry. He was but a symbol. Star David, which is 2 inverted pyramids. You see? So, we understand what's going on now. They are into what's going on. Now look at this. This is in Christianity Before Christ, page 183. Our solar system, with all its planets and moons, describe a huge circle around another sun in space, the star Sirius. The movement takes 25.920 years. I'm giving you different dates to register this stuff with. I done gave you 3 or 4 or 5 different dates already. To complete during the same time our sun to traverse through the various clusters of constellations of star clusters, which was already known in ancient China, ancient Mexico, ancient Babylon, and ancient Egypt. You see, that's the basis. This is the key to what's going on and the key to these cycles. You see, the key to these cycles. Now, how do we know that these cycles are among us? How do we know that this stuff is happening today? If you get the Black Collegian, I think it was May or something, it's called the Black History the Black History Edition. Ivan Van Sertima talking 3 issues back. Ivan Van Sertima is talking on the Dogon. And he said that the Dogon used to do the sacred dance each year and plot the orbit of Sirius, Osiris. They stopped doing the dance in 1990. That's ironic that it's 10 years before the year 2000. See what I'm saying? The year 2000. Now the Dogon are serious about what they're doing, and they don't do stuff just to be doing it. And if you're doing something, it's such a tradition, a 700-year-old tradition, why in the devil are you just going to quit? No, that's the Dogon tribe in Mali, in West Africa. Why are you going to quit? You see? Why would they quit 10 years before the millennium is up? You see? And then all of a sudden, they got all these doggone shows on Millennium and all showing the Dogon. They got shows on the rainforest people in South America is being wiped out. You see? And you notice that the man is so-called becoming more humane in his knowledge of things with the New Age movement and all of this stuff, we're becoming more ignorant. Remember, I told you that they went through barbarism in the caves. We went through barbarism in slavery. Slavery was orientation for a people that has been beat down to the level of the beast, providing we have knowledge. In the Virginia State Representative in 1863, it said, damn, we look like we're losing this war. Or whatever. It said, look like we're losing this war. 1864 or something like that. They said, what are we going to do? Because thinking in their mind, they said these people might rise up and come against us. And there was a guy from the House of Representatives that said, hey, you ain't got nothing to worry about. He said, we have closed all avenues in the slave mind in which light can travel. We are not sure, but if we are sure, he will be nothing but like that of the beast of the field. You see what I mean? So this was our barbarism. You see what I mean? This was our barbarism. All of a sudden, he's taking the science. You go to the New Age movement, he is taking our science and they're running with it. But the problem is, they buying time. They buying time. Now,